Where is Patrick Mahomes all time? Where do we rank Patrick Mahomes all time? Is he first, second, third? Where do you have Patrick Mahomes on your list? I have him third as of now. I have him third. Got to be third. He's past Peyton Manning. You win 3 Super Bowls in the way that you won it. I'm sorry. I know Peyton Manning has his statistics are out of this world. I'm just sorry. Patrick Mahomes, at this point, if he stopped playing today, I would say Patrick Mahomes is better. I would say that. And that doesn't mean Peyton Manning is not any good either. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that Patrick Mahomes is better. And there's a lot of people saying, no way. Hey, come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? What is it that you want a quarterback to do? You want him to win in the clutch, in the playoffs. How many years? This is what people forget. How many years did Peyton Manning lose? Couldn't even make it to the Super Bowl. Not only did they not make it, he played lousy in the playoffs. How many years in a row did that happen? How many years in a row did that happen? Stop, people. You got to stop. Just look at football and remember, he was horrible in the playoffs. And then he finally broke through. Peyton Manning easily is the best regular season quarterback. Easily. But that's how not how we measure this quarterback stuff. Somebody said Eli was better in the playoffs. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Now, Eli didn't get to the playoffs very often, but when he did, he was better. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes has passed Peyton Manning in the hierarchy of quarterbacks. What else are you going to say? I mean, literally, what else are you going to say? What else does he have to do? He's got to win 10 Super Bowls to pass Peyton Manning? Come on, man. Now, he's not past Joe Montana, and he's not past Tom Brady. He's not past either of those guys yet. But he's 28 years old. He's 28 years old. 28 with a lot of football left. Now, their roster clearly is going to change. Travis Kelce's not going to play forever. So you got to find something else. I would suspect the Chiefs probably go and draft another tight end in this draft. So things are going to start changing. And that'll be what we see. That'll be, can Patrick Mahomes take that next step? The next evolution is when your roster changes. Can you still be great? Because if you put Patrick Mahomes up on a pedestal and his roster changes and then Patrick Mahomes drops down to being normal, here's a question. Can you drop Patrick Mahomes back down a peg? Would you do that? Would you say, hey, he's great, but once his roster changed and he wasn't playing with these great players and he's playing with new guys, is he still great? That's something you saw Tom Brady do. So there's a difference. So my man Angry Drunken is saying Mahomes is 1, Montana is 2, Brady is 3. No way, no how. No way, no how. Patrick Mahomes is not the best quarterback. He hasn't done enough to be considered above those guys. That's just crazy talk. So I love the spirit and I love the prisoner of the moment stuff, but he's not the best. So let's talk about Andy Reid a little bit. Where do we have Andy Reid as a head coach? He doesn't get enough credit. I think Andy Reid's got to go to the top of the heap, doesn't he? He's got to go right up there. Now, is he Belichick yet? I don't think so. And I don't have him ahead of Chuck Noll either. You're not going to tell me, again, call me a homer all you want. The man won 4 Super Bowls and dominated an era. So Andy Reid's in the top 5? Absolutely. Where do you have him? 4th? 3rd? I mean, he can't be lower than 5. So he can't be lower than 5. I think he's 3rd. I think Andy Reid right now is the 3rd best coach in NFL history. And I know that people are going to say, well, what about Vince Lombardi? Nah, you didn't allow everybody to play back in those times, so no. I don't give all that the credence that people want to give it. But Andy Reid is crazy. Just crazy good. Yeah, easily top 5, they're saying on TikTok. Oh, yeah. I think he's top 3. I think he's top 3. But Andy Reid, what he did in Philly, and he was really good in Philly, just couldn't get over the hump. And now what he's done with the Chiefs, I mean, let's just be honest. The Chiefs were an average franchise, an average to pretty good franchise before he got there. I take that back. They were average before he got there. Once he got there, they became pretty good. And then once they drafted Mahomes, they just sent it off into a new stratosphere. They sent it off into a new stratosphere. It's incredible what Andy Reid has done. I think you have to have him in your top 3. Jimmy Johnson was good, but Jimmy Johnson was awful with Miami. He was awful. You know, what he did with the Cowboys is incredible. But when he left and he went to Miami, they were awful. So Chuck Noll is underrated. He is, just not to me. And you're right. Chuck Noll is absolutely underrated. Nobody talks about him. He put together the Steelers in the 70s. And not only did he put them together, they dominated the decade. And there were some really good football teams during that time. But Chuck Noll would be 2. Belichick 1, Chuck Noll 2, Andy Reid 3. And Andy Reid keeps going. He can get past Chuck Noll. He can absolutely do that. So, absolutely. Bill Walsh is right there. Bill Walsh is right there. I think Reid is better. That's just my personal opinion. Reid is better. And no, I'm not going to stop. Andy Reid is better. He's taking that same offense and taking it to new heights. But you got to include Bill Walsh in a conversation. A lot of people don't want to say it because he had great players and he had this and he had that. Yeah, you got to include Bill Walsh in that conversation if you're being honest with yourself. Only if you're being honest with yourself. So let's take another look at YouTube here. My man, Angry Drunken German, thank you for coming to the show. We appreciate it. The degree of difficulty was way higher for Montana than Brady or Mahomes. Mahomes will never face a real defense like the 2000 Ravens or Steel Curtain. You can't play that way anymore. Now, that's his argument talking about is Mahomes as good as the other guys because the rules are different. That's a legitimate conversation. That's one of the reasons why I say Montana is better than Brady is because the rules are different. Hell, Montana's career was ended because he was getting killed. Well, you can't do anything remotely like that to a quarterback today. Not to mention, you see quarterbacks, anytime they get hit at all, the first thing they do is turn around and look at the ref. Why aren't you throwing a flag? That's the first thing that they do. The very first thing that they do. It's crazy. Yeah, so it's just different. The rules are just different now. Now, that doesn't make people not great. That doesn't make people not great, but it's different. Just different. But yeah, man, I think Reid is definitely in that top three. You can have the Bill Walsh argument, but I think Andy Reid surpassed him. He surpassed him. My man Wakan says third. Walsh, Knowles, and Belichick were better. I don't think. Well, Noel would be not Knowles, but no, I don't think Walsh was better. But that's just my personal opinion, and it might be a preference too. It might be a preference. Here's my man, Bill Kernan says Shula, Noel, Belichick, Reid. Nah, not Shula. Shula gets underrated, and I get it. And he coached a long time, has the most wins, but I don't think Shula is in that conversation because you had what a lot of people said was the best quarterback ever at the time in Dan Marino, and you only got to one Super Bowl, much less win one. You only got to one with Dan Marino. You got to take a knock for that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we love Don Shula, but you only got to one Super Bowl with Dan Marino. Yeah, you got to take a knock for that. Got to take a knock for that.